sense of validation of the fact that you could create something of your own, right? If nothing falls by, you know what you could do. So the fact that we got paid for what we loved doing was the other part of the validation that really added value. In a quiz, you are half sure of an answer. You need to take risks. In life, you're half sure of uncertainty, right? And you have to take risks in sometimes or bank on yourself, and go and hit that buzzer. There was a set of kids who had woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning, traveled all the way from Bidar to be in Kalburgi to participate in this quiz. They had freshened up in a bus stand with their headmaster, and after the quiz got over, the headmaster and the children came and said, "Sir, we got these many right, wrong, etc., but we learned these many things, and all this effort made it's worth it, sir. I'll come next year again."
बस जॉब चल रही है यार।
जब जॉब और करियर बस चलता है देन दिस इज हाउ द एंटायर डे लुक्स लाइक। करियर को बस चलाओ नहीं भगाओ भी। लॉग ऑन टू altuni.in. Earn more at your current job or get a new one that does. Learn from experts, work on life industry projects and get high paying job opportunities. Find the link in description.
I have with me somebody who has done something called BBA LLB. I also don't know if something of that sort exists, so I would like to know. And what exactly he did after that, what exactly he does now, and how is it interesting is something that you're going to learn from him. So I would like to call up on stage Raghav Chakravarti. Please join me on the stage. Give him a big round of applause. Raghav, help me understand, how many students who you were studying with in your school were willing to join an engineering college?
So I can very specifically tell you about my 11th and 12th. Till 10th, I was in a school called St. Paul's here in JP Nagar. And 11th and 12th, I was in Sri Kumurans. And in my Kumurans batch of about 36, there were 2 of us who took up law. There were about 1 person who took up architecture. And I think a fairly I think about 5 or 6 took up medical, but all the rest took up engineering.
Was there any pressure for you to also take this up?
Yeah, look, after 10th standard, I think my face of that time was like sheepish, follow the herd kind of a mentality, right? So everyone, like everybody else, I also went through to IIT coaching. There's a very famous IIT institute here in Bangalore called BASE. A lot of people go to here. One of the things that I fondly remember that is not, classes was okay, but in fact, there was a bus journey that we had to take. It's a 1-hour bus journey where we used to cover. So lots of our students from different parts of the locality used to be part of that bus journey. Conversations we used to have as part of that bus journey was something which was more memorable, and I still remember. So
what were some of those conversations?
Yeah, so it involved about capital punishment to veg, non-veg eating, or whatever. Yeah, so and lots of interesting trivia that we used to be sharing, etc. So those were interesting. By about my 12th grade, 6 months before my board exams and stuff like that, I guess it was a dawning onto my mind that I was generally very interested in humanities. So history, geography, literature, those are things that really hit me. So I kind of took a call that with my other friend, who's also my quiz partner, Pranav, that we should give law a shot. So it was the last 3 months before board exams that we decided that law should be something that we should give. And also there's this dawning feeling that, look, I might be just mediocre engineer. I don't know, like it kind of was also a large part of a feeling at that point in time, right? So I guess those were some memories of the time. But it was very confusing, was also a little rebellish. There's always this thing about you love doing something. You're always trying to figure out if there's some alignment to that journey. So I was in that exploratory stage. It was very confusing. It was difficult in a sense. But I think there also was a tipping point of having to take up law in the last 2 months and going up.
Tell me a little bit about what is this BBA LLB?
Simple law degree with bachelor's in business administration. So you learn a little bit about accounting, you learn a little bit about organizational management and things like that, and law degree, right? So there are broadly three categories of law that you could do. You could do a BBA LLB. BA LLB is the most common, and there you have BSc LLB. If you are looking at joining any course where you have intellectual property rights, you would join a BSc LLB because there's science and you understand patent law and understand innovation and things like that.
From Bangalore, you moved to Pune, right?
Yeah.
And that was the first time you were outside of your city, outside of your parents' supervision, outside of a lot of people that you've grown up with, and a new world is opening up for you. How was that time in terms of learning?
Yeah, I think one good mental model in life is to, whenever you're in a decision and you're trying to see which one, sometimes it's a good thing to think, hey, will this push you out of your comfort zone, right? And I've seen this repeatedly. Whenever you've pushed out of your comfort zone, it's messy, right? But it leads you to growth. One of the things that, as a mental model that I use when decision making, is also whether that is a very useful kind of thing, right? Like you can think of anything. Moving out of your stable state requires you to like really take it. So I would say that at that point in time, from a Bangalore where there was a set of things that I was very comfortable with, moving to a place where I had students from across the country, I had to fend for myself. There's also this thing about looking out for yourself also that you have to do. So any opportunity to move away from your comfort zone, you should embrace it. You'll learn something.
And was this during this time that you met your co-founder for Qshala also? And what was that interaction like? If you can
So
share
Sachin, my co-founder, is also a quizzer. We used to compete against each other because he's from NPS Indiranagar. I was in St. Paul's. He's 1 year junior to me. It so happened that after 1 year of my law school, he joined the same law school, right? And that's when there's a very famous quiz called the Tata Crucible that happens. We were trying to go for it, and he was in his first year, I was in my second year. And I remember that because of some students cheating or something, we didn't get qualified to the finals. And Sachin was not my team member then, but that was like, we went walking down to a tapri, and it was that conversation where he said, hey, we should aim to win this quiz in Bangalore and Pune and so on. So that was when we started teaming up. It was in second year. And from then onwards, it's been a journey where every week during my final year in law school, we used to go travel for quizzes, corporate quizzes even, where we were not eligible to participate, or they were just gracious enough to allow college students to go. But what it did was, because we were attempting very tough quizzes, it just enabled us that the campus quizzes became very easy. After that, we started teaching children in local schools in Pune. The idea was that quizzing gave us so much. How can we take that learning to our children? And that was one of the things that we wanted to kind of do, and we did for 3 schools in Pune there, and that was the starting point of our pilot project and stuff.
Your pilot already started with those 3 schools. Where were you headed with that? Why did you think that there is a gap that you can fill right out of your law college?
Because we were like going and participating in quizzes, etc., we used to win some cash prizes, right? And that bankrolled us to invest more, to travel and things like that. But these small acts of confidence that you get is a sense of validation of the fact that you could create something of your own, right? If nothing falls by, you know what you could do. So that was one big validation of sorts. When we went, and so this was another thing, right? All of it happened one night when we were having a drink, wrote down saying, why not go teach local schools? That night, created one proposal, took that one-pager proposals with our credentials, went to the principal, and imagine college students just go knocking on the door of the principal, Three schools I remember: Shamrao Kalmadi, Symbiosis, one other school called Karve, and there is where we were able to get direct entry. And like the principal said, "Hey, you know what? We have a quiz club. Why don't you run it?" And they said, "We'll pay you 500 rupees per session." And we were like, "Okay." So after school, we used to go teach these children. So the fact that we got paid for what we loved doing was the other part of the validation that really added value. And we knew that, over a period of time, these children we started teaching or, was facilitating with and, jamming with, etc., went on to win very prestigious quizzes after we passed out of law school. So that was like another kind of value add, so to say. But the fact that we went and did that, I think was the initial stage of confidence that really, so sometimes it's just, I guess, moving again from our comfort zone that nudges you to take up those risks.
Right, but as I mentioned, was there a need that you saw that, this is something that we can build on? I mean, can create something out of it?
One is, of course, bringing questions and storytelling for school children. And our core focus was, how do you connect what they're studying in the classroom to what is happening in the world? Let's say Ukraine-Russia conflict is happening. How do you connect it back to what is happening in the classroom? So that was like a primary focus for our one. So there was lots of debates, conversations, etc. And I think that was one very clear need, that quizzing as a tool for learning was powerful. And we have had this whole thing, right? Like in a quiz, you are half sure of an answer. You need to take risks. In life, you're half sure of uncertainty, right? And you have to take risks in sometimes, or bank on yourself, and go and hit that buzzer, irrespective of the fact that you might get a negative. These are like spurts of decision making that you have to do, and I think that replicates in life's decisions as well. So there were lots of these life skills we thought children could get from this aspect, right? So that was one of the initial kind of this one. But another thing was pub scene in Pune was not as vibrant as Bangalore, but it was a very thriving one. So we did get some gigs to conduct pub quizzes there and all of that. So there was an entertainment value for questions and storytelling. That was another form of validation. The other last piece was in a classroom, right? Like, and the good hack, if you are asked to do a facilitation session, start with a question, or if you use questions and storytelling as an interactive way of learning, I think it is far more meaningful than a unilateral me talking, like, for example, how I'm doing now, right?
Now you saw that people are taking interest, right? At what point did you think that this is a startup that we are going to start?
So that pilot really was one major validation for us, right? We knew how much money we could earn if we conducted sessions like this in classes, in schools. And that was the birth of our Q-Shala program. Just to give you a background, after law school, I worked as a legal counsel with ICICI Bank in the Southeast Asia office and then Bangalore. And at that point in time, in the last year of law school, Sachin and I had won Tata Crucible National Quiz, and we had come runners-up in the international quiz. So we had won some money, like about 5 lakhs. So that acted, and it was almost like Sachin was even more keen on starting up right after college. But I mean, I was financially, I wanted to figure out stuff. So that corporate piece was one of the 2 years of engagement that happened before I took the startup.
Stepping stone.
Stepping stone. But also it kind of eliminated to know what was a corporate journey like. But that seed money that we won as part of the quiz, and the fact of like that 1 year, 2 years of saving money really enabled for that financial security to take that risk, right? So it did not just happen like, okay, we'll do a startup. We had also gotten pilots, and we had gotten money for the same. So we knew that if we scaled it up to many more children and schools, see, the idea was if this school had that need, there could be need for other schools as well. So that was like an very kind of this one. And we were conducting quizzes for which we were getting paid as well. Just think about it. Like, heart of learning is a sense of wonder. And heart of wonder is a sense of being curious about wanting to know something, and it's questions. Now, if there's any form of learning, there has to be questions. So the idea was that if we can power learning through questions across the world through technology, how would it look like? So that was like the heart of how we thought about what a medium of quizzing, which is questions and stories, could do to engagement and learning, right? And today we are building that, or we are in the process of building that, or that is the, like, why the startup idea, etc.
Tell me a few stories, like when you go to these schools, when you go, run these quizzes, when people take part in these quizzes, you must have gone through some of the stories that have stayed back with you, right? Where people have actually come to you and told you that, this is something that I have not seen or done in a long, long time in my life. And how was that feeling when you get to hear that?
The first year when we quit our jobs and started Walnut full time, again, we went to 3 schools, Sri Kumarans and NPS Indiranagar and TVS Academy, and they were gracious to give us an opportunity to pitch for children, and we went ahead and got the, the first program that rolled out, right? And that scaled, etc. But one big program that we did was a coincidental, one of my seniors, I spoke to him about the fact that we were doing this, and that senior recommended that we should go, and because he used to work for the Deccan Herald and Prajavani newspapers. So he said, why don't you go pitch a quiz for them? And he was working with that, so he facilitated it. We went and we pitched a quiz, and we conducted this Prajavani Quiz Championship, which is a bilingual quiz, Kannada and English, across districts in Karnataka. Being a Kannadiga, this travel across the state was how I got to know about our own state, because we all live in bubbles. Sitting in cities, very privileged asses. When we got to go to the roots, we really understand the, a different world. And for me, this is in Kalburgi. There was a set of kids who had woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning, traveled all the way from Bidar to be in Kalburgi to participate in this quiz. They had freshened up in a bus stand with their headmaster, and after the quiz got over, the headmaster and the children came and said, sir, we got these many right, wrong, etc., but we learnt these many things, and all this effort made it's worth it, sir. I'll come next year again, right? For us, that itself gave so much meaning to the work that we were doing, right? So these moments of these are what really gets us. One of the things that we did serendipitously was we worked with the government of Karnataka for the Swachh Bharat quizzes. Similar quiz in Davangere. When we went and conducted this quiz, the people around were serving food, and they were taking those plates and they were just placing it there without actually responsibly ensuring that it is taken away. This kid came back to me, said, sir, today in Kannada, we've learned so much about cleanliness, but if the government does this, is it not hypocrisy? In Kannada, she said, idikku artha eno. So I took this girl, went, and we spoke to the project director right then and there, and the project director went and ensured that the whole thing was clean. And the impact of what you do showing up in real life, right? So these are some examples that come to mind when I think of, how questions or what we do kind of impacts people.
Raghav, there are so many, apps nowadays. Kids have access to smartphones and tablets, right? It's such a cluttered market. How did you think that Qshala will be something that will be a, game changer?
What apps do you use for quizzing? QuizUp? QuizUp, right? What else? Quizzes? Brilliant has a quiz app, is it? Oh, wonderful, right? So unfortunately, QuizUp are shut down, right? So there is a market that's opened up where anyone wants to play a quiz with friends and family today, where you can just go, give your interest, and you have a link which you can share. So one of the ways in which we believed is that there are some very good apps. Quizzes is one, Kahoot is one, but we think that there is still a market where there is white space of that user experience that can change, and content can change. problem with lots of apps are that localized content is still not something that works, right? Like you need to ask contextual questions to really draw engagement. So we think content really is the driver for a good quizzing experience, right? So that's another kind of thing that we think that there is value in that as well. So yeah, so these are some of the reasons why we think that there is a market for powering brands to meaningfully engage through quizzes. So we started, like we knew that quizzing was a fun engagement, so we got corporate gigs. And these also happened serendipitously. Some of the parents who were in school started referring us to their corporates, and that was one way. And we reached out to a couple of our network also. And primarily, which was used, quizzing was used for employee engagement, fun quizzes. People were entering the organization. They wanted to ask interesting trivia about the company, right? From Goldman Sachs to other companies which we had done these interesting content for. So that was one of the starting point. And brand awareness is the other piece, where using quizzes as a knowledge property. All of us remember Bonvita quiz contest, right? All of us kind of remember like a Tata Crucible. So there is a scope, or a KBC, right? Count by Nagao is a knowledge property, which is probably the most successful in terms of monetary terms game show in India.
You must be thinking another pre-roll? Wait, let me just skip it. With Altuni, there are some boring things which you can avoid, like the long wait for promotions or increments, or the numerous interviews before you land your dream job. At Altuni, we make sure that you're future ready and skilled to be in the top 0.5% class. Click on the link in the description now.